and the playlist she named Check Out at Noon. I found it while trying to fix the speakers, which is either poetic or lazy depending on where you stand. The living room sonos had been stuttering, half a chorus, a brief godless silence, then a song resuming in a new mood. I opened the app and slipped into the nested menus where our life hides. Devices, rooms, profiles, the unglamorous seam where convenience holds the house together. That's where I saw it, under our shared family account, a new playlist. Black cover, white text. Title, Check Out at Noon. I don't name things lightly. I design sound for a living rooms mostly. I tune theaters until applause feels handmade, restaurants until conversation glows without shouting. I know what titles do to a night. Check Out at Noon wasn't about music. It was a sentence said with a hand on a doorknob. I tapped it. The first track was that soft French song we heard in Lisbon the night the power went out mid-meal, and the waiters lit candles like an apology you could eat. The second was a bass-heavy thing that makes furniture consider short careers. Then a remix of something we danced to in our kitchen the week we signed the lease. Then, tucked like a secret between two mood pieces, a track with hotel in the name, the kind of on-the-nose detail you, cut from a movie for being gauche. The playlist ran 47 minutes. It ended with a piano piece, whose final note lasts longer than the key that made it. I should have left it, should have chalked it up to mood, nostalgia, a joke she meant to show me later. Instead, I checked the collaborators. Just one me, and another profile I didn't recognize. No avatar, just the gray of the uncommitted. The only way to add a collaborator is to invite them. The only way to invite them is to be certain about what you're building. Lose something, Zoe called from the bathroom. The blow dryer hummed like an alibi. She works in brand installations, turning empty spaces into months that look good on phones. We're both in the business of staging. People trust our rooms because our rooms know where to put them. Found a new playlist, I said, trying on casual like a shirt I didn't remember buying. Yours. The one with blue cover, she said, louder over the dryer. Found it in Discover Weekly. This one's black, I said. She didn't answer. The dryer stopped. Water clicked. She came out in a t-shirt of mine that the washing machine had convinced into softness, a towel hugging her hair, a single drop of water deciding her jawline. She glanced at my phone the way people glance at windows to guess weather. Play me something, she asked. It was a skill, how she could locate the nearest easier truth and volunteer it. I queued up the French song. It made our apartment look like it had earned these walls. She swayed unintentionally. Her shoulder brushed my arm. The air decided to believe us for a second. I wanted to slide my hand under the towel at her neck and say the word stay, not as a command, but as a description. Dinner at Myra's tonight, she said. The one on Fleet with the stupid sconces. I'll be late. Checkouts at noon, I said before I could stop myself. I regretted it the instant it was air, like a misplaced spotlight. Her eyes did that choreography I know too well. Flinch, laugh, land. What am I being accused of? She asked, amused enough to be brave. She went to the kitchen and fed coffee to the French press like it owed her money. Who's R? I asked, because skipping to the question is sometimes cleaner than building a scene you both hate. She met my eyes over the kettle's steam. She didn't pick a lie, she picked a cut. Raphael, she said. From the install on Mercer, he sent me a list. We swapped songs like people swap jokes. I titled it. He laughed, it's a playlist. Is it? I said, and hated how easy it is to turn a question into a verdict. She set the kettle down and leaned on the counter hip first, as if the apartment were a person she was choosing to trust. Don't be tidy, Eli, she said, my name like a soft reprimand. If you want to ask me who is he to you, ask. Don't try and make the sonos testify. Who is he to you? I said without cleverness. A feeling auditioning for a person, she said. He makes me remember the version of me who didn't ask for permission to want things. I've been missing her. I don't want him. I want her. You can be mad about the method. I'm mad about the method. I stood inside the French song long enough to hear it end. I wanted rage. I got clarity and the ache that always comes with it. She came to me, hand finding my chest, palm flat, pressing the way you test whether a wall is load-bearing. He'd arrived. It always does around us, uninvited and not unwelcome. We kissed, not to win, not to distract, but because specific bodies solve problems language cannot. Her mouth gave me that small sound she only makes when her shoulders finally believe the room is safe. I let her breathe into me, recorded the tempo like a note I'd use later to tune a space. When she left, the door closing with the indifference of a building, I opened the app again and scrolled to where the playlist lived. Under it, a breadcrumb, suggested on nearby devices, the Henrietta Hotel, 3rd floor. Sonos is a snitch. Somewhere near us, those speakers had recognized each other, and my phone knew their handshake. The Henrietta was 3 stops away, an old bank turned into a mood with rooms. I'd tuned its lobby a year ago, delicately siphoning treble out of the marble so conversation could keep its skin on. The 3rd floor has suites that pretend to have secrets. I put on a jacket that could pass for neutrality and told a version of the truth about an evening meeting. I left with hunger I didn't want and a resolve I didn't deserve. Hotels are expert liars, light sources that flatter, carpets that muffle missteps, staff with eyes trained to notice without nodding. The Henrietta smelled like cedar, citrus, and the absence of consequence. At the desk, a man with immaculate eyebrows smiled like a syntax. "Welcome back," he said in a voice I'd tuned. He didn't know whether he knew me. Good tuning does that. "I'm meeting a friend on 3, I said. "They forgot their room number. Can you ring R on floor list?" He checked the screen with the professional curiosity of a doctor. "R Racha," he offered. "Suite 304. Raphael Racha. R the name wore its consonants like cufflinks. I took the stairs. I needed the time a lift would steal, the breath, the creak of wood telling me whether I was a person or a story. The door to 304 had the kind of hardware you can learn a person by. I knocked and instantly hated the sound for being exactly what a knock is, a prelude you can't retract. The door opened a cautious hand's width. Raphael was taller up close, a sort of elegant that money teaches you by example. He looked at my jacket, my shoes, the line of my jaw the way men do when they're deciding whether to be decent. "You Eli," he said. It wasn't a guess. "I am," I said. "You're R." He didn't posture, he didn't flinch. He opened the door another foot. "She's not here," he said. "And if she was, the right thing would be to invite her to make this conversation theirs too." "Is that what we're doing?" I said, stepping into a room that smelled like sharp rain and the faintest ghost of her perfume, the one that sits between fig and sin. He moved aside. The suite was tastefully specific: low lamps, a corner couch, curtains that meant business. A vinyl player sat on the cabinet with a record already spun to track 1, the French song. I wanted to hurt the stereo and hated myself for giving it so much power. "I'm not here to win," Raphael said, unacceptable for being probably true. She said she was going home. She said she needed to say the truth there before she ruins what she came here to practice. What was she practicing? I asked. Because interrogation is useless but questions are habits. "Not asking permission," he said. "Watching a room change because she is in it, not because she curated it." There's a special place in hell for men who can narrate your wife better than you do. I found myself liking and resenting him in equal measure, which is an algebra too boring to keep. Leave town, I said, not a threat, just a crude wish. I have a shoot in Istanbul tomorrow, he said with annoying timing. I'll be gone by morning. And in a week, I said. He glanced at the turntable like he was tempted to justify music. In a week, you two will either be practicing or pretending, he said. I'm bad at standing near either. I looked at the windows, at the bed, rumpled, no, still ironed into good behavior, at the ice bucket sweating like a guilty noun. I'm a sound guy. I opened my mouth and listened to the room instead of the man. It sounded like nothing had happened yet. I could be wrong. I believed me. I tuned your lobby, I said for no reason except to prove I existed before this afternoon. 3 dB off the marble. That's why it feels like a place where secrets get to leave intact. He smiled with his eyes finally. Thanks, he said. It works. If you ever use her name as a story the way you use this room, I said, I'll retune your apartment so every morning feels like an airport. I don't own an apartment, he said, but I take the point, and I'll deserve it if I forget how to exit. Good, I said. Good, he said. I left with nothing cinematic to slam. In the stairwell, a couple kissed in a way that makes you hope they're good to each other later. On the street, the city tried on the blue hour and decided to keep it. I went home to a front door that makes the sound I tuned it to make when we first moved in, firm, satisfying, a punctuation mark that promises a sentence on the other side. Zoe was on the rug, laptop open, eyebrows furrowed toward war. She closed it when she saw me, the reflex of a person making space. I thought you had a meeting, she said. I did, I said. I left early. She stood. We looked at each other like we were listening for a low-frequency hum only we can hear. I didn't go, she said, which I already knew but needed the music of. I know, I said. Do you want to be angry first or precise first? She asked. Precise, I said, then because I'm not a saint, and then a little angry. We took that to the bedroom because rooms matter. On the edge of the bed, she sat with her knees parted just enough to invite honesty. I took her hands. They were warm, steady, hers. If we keep pretending we can be the same people we were the first year forever, she said, we're going to start lying more elegantly and not better. I wanted sparks. I picked a terrible way to ask for them. Ask me, I said. I want to feel unruly with you, she said. I want a room that doesn't apologize for desire. I want to be able to say, come now, and not have you read it as a critique of all the times I didn't. The anger I'd promised arrived, small and just. Then don't outsource our heat to a stranger with a camera, I said. Don't build altars in hotels to practice what you could be practicing in the kitchen. She nodded, the kind of nod that belongs to adults who plan on staying. I'll delete him, she said. He's a method. I'll choose a better one. We made a rule with our mouths and our hands. Honesty before improvisation. Playlists named for what we actually want. Then we did the thing that still works. We kissed until the rules felt like architecture instead of paperwork. Her breath found that low wave that lives under her sternum when she believes she won't be punished for wanting. I answered like a man who has tuned enough rooms to know when the resonance is finally right. Clothes went in directions. My palm learned her ribs again, the count, the curve. She tugged my shirt with impatience and affection. I slid my hand under her t-shirt and found heat waiting like a promise that had gotten there first. We moved with care, then with speed, then with intention. Nothing obscene, everything specific. When she said my name, it came like relief. When I said hers, it came like a location. We stopped before the part where stopping would have been an insult. We lay forehead to forehead like people who survived a rehearsal and chose to keep the show. Later in the living room, I opened the app. The playlist stared back unashamed. I pressed the three dots. Rename. I typed. Stay over. It felt stupid. It felt perfect. Zoe watched me do it and smiled the way she smiles when a problem remembers it can be solved. She added a song, one of mine, an instrumental I'd tucked into a show where a couple pretends to break up better than they really know how. "You're going to see him again," I said, because if truth is going to live here, it needed to take the couch like a guest. "I'll see him when gravity insists," she said, "but he doesn't have a room here. He doesn't get to choose a track." We still stumble. Weeks aren't miracles. She tells me when she misses her first draft self, and I reply with now or later. We book a room sometimes on purpose and make it ours, not as a fix but as a practice. The hotel bar, the stupid sconces, the choice to share a glass and not share a secret. Occasionally, when the house is quiet and the evening needs a title, I say, "Check out at noon." And she shakes her head and climbs into my lap and says, "No, check in." Once I ran into Raphael at a gallery opening. He had the decency to pretend surprise and the wisdom to leave the conversation before it could earn a genre. "The lobby still sounds good," he said, a nod toward nothing and everything. "You two look tuned." "We're working on it," I said. That night back home, the speakers behaved. The playlist cued itself at the perfect volume, warm enough to loosen the screws on the day, soft enough to hear each other breathe. We danced a little the way married people do when they've learned that staying is not the absence of leaving. It's a rhythm you arrive at on purpose. When she pulled me close by the belt and laughed into my mouth, I slid my hand to the back of her neck and felt the exact weight of our beginning, awake and loyal. We didn't check out of anything. We decided to keep the room.